Budget 2023 came at a time when there are recession fears for the world and when many industries had a tough time last year. Few of those industries were the startup sector and specifically the tech sector with multiple layoffs and losses, many stocks tanking as well. So let's just get a sense of what Budget 2023 has in store for the startup sector and for the edtech sector, and who better than Byju's to talk about it. We have the India's largest edtech firm Byju's joining us on Budget 2023. We will speak to them about the impact. We have Divya now joining us, who is the co-founder of Byju. Divya, you come from a company that lies at the intersection really of tech, education and entrepreneurship. First, let's focus on the tech industry. Last year was a bad year for the tech industry. There were layoffs, losses, even Byju's announced laying off 2,500 people. So were there expectations to get a boost from the budget, and have they been met, or has the budget been silent on the tech industry?
So Priyanshi, maybe I want to just start by talking about the overall budget, and then we can specifically talk about tech and education, because it's all very intertwined, right? If you look at it, what I found really impressive by the successive budget is that each budget is built foundation set up by the previous budget. So there's no drastic announcement here, and that actually projects a sense of stability and predictability from India to the world. So there's certain key themes, right, in each budget, which that India remains not just on the right economic growth path right now, but India is also getting ready today for India at 100. So if I just have to broadly divide it, the themes are infrastructure, digitalization, skill development, ease of doing business, and inclusive growth, right? These five. And put these themes, right, built on these themes, and there's also this additional flavor of consumption-driven growth. Now, that's become necessary due to the current adverse global economic environment. So we have twin engines of growth happening here: growth through consumption boost, infrastructure-led growth. So, and like you rightly said, there are tax benefits to the Indian middle class, very welcome. Most of all, the increase in exemption from 5 to 7 lakh. What is it puts more power in the hands of the consumer, and that actually benefits the tech industry. So the Honorable Finance Minister estimates that the total revenue foregone is INR 35,000 crores. But this effectively means that 35,000 crores will now be additionally injected into the economy in 23-24. And as the world prepares for maybe another year of slowdown, it's going to go a long way, this amount, in boosting the Indian economy and giving it a strong consumption push. And if you look at what does a tech company do, it solves problems at scale, right? So that's where it will actually, help consumers invest back into things and places which will, probably help them in their future, like education.
So you seem really optimistic about the budget, given that the tech industry was one of the worst sufferers last year. But you also come from the edtech space. So let's talk about education now. The budget allocation this year is the highest ever for the education sector at 1.12 lakh crore. It also focuses on AI. Now, how could this bring changes to the sector, according to you?
Yeah, with 1.12 lakh crores, it's actually the highest ever allocation. And with visionary policies like Make AI in India, Make AI work for, is actually laying strong foundations for India to lead in the technologies of the future, right? And I'm immensely excited about the launch of PM Kaushal Vikas Yojana 4.0, which will train millions of Indian youth in new age technologies like AI, robotics, and mechatronics. So India's demographic dividend is something that we were very, very proud of. Now we're also reaping it by investing so much in upskilling. So on one hand, consumption push and infrastructure, and on the other hand, the massive investment in skill development will make India ready for the jobs of tomorrow.
Right. So now let's talk about startups, of course. Several announcements have been made on that front. How do you think that will help the sector at a time when there are so many startup failure stories and so many startups laying off so many employees? As I mentioned, Byju's also laid off thousands of employees. So how do you think the budget announcements for the startup sector are seen?
Yes, in fact, I think the place to start today is in India, and the whole concept of making in India, for India and for the rest of the world, because we are one of those few bright spots in the entire globe that can actually drive up the economy of the country and also boost what's happening in the entire world, right? So the Honorable Prime Minister's vision is fructifying for both Startup India and Digital India. And I can say that we, the entrepreneurs of India, are now ready to play our small roles in the great story of India. India rising to claim its global leadership role. We're living and working in the most exciting times. By the end of this decade, we'll be reaping the benefits of our investment in infrastructure and digitalization. And India today is actually getting ready for its future leadership role by reaping the huge demographic dividend that it possesses. So I think that's where the core lies. Wonderful that we are hosting the G20 summit this year. So there's no better country than India to lead the world in both growth and stability in these turbulent times.
Right. So as an entrepreneur, do you welcome the budget completely? Are you completely happy with it, or are there no complaints?
See, the point is what you should be able to envision a future and to be fortunate. If you're fortunate to be in a country which is growing like this, India is a story of self-sufficiency in a challenged world, and I think that is the biggest opportunity that we have as Indians, as startup founders, as entrepreneurs, and we have to reap that.
All right, Divya Gokulnath, thanks very much for joining us and getting us that perspective. She, of course, welcomes the budget for the startup sector and for the tech industry, given those hard times that the industry saw last year.